baby brother, Rudy Stearns. Please welcome them both.
Go on, baby.
Always do what she says.
Come closer. It ain't gonna.
Mic out the way, you want to come?
Yes, come with us.
You don't put a mic in your face.
He don't even want to be photographed. Oh, he does. He does want to be? Oh, yes.
One more time. One, two, three.
Thank you. Take a picture off of this.
You all hear me? Yep. I just wanted to thank you for this honor. It stems from an honor I had in 1983 when I met Eldrewey Stearns in Galveston. I was a 33-year-old professor at UTMB. He was sleeping on a couch in his parents' house. His life had gone south. He was troubled. And like I say, I had the honor of meeting him and asking his permission to work on his life story. And 15 years later, we had this book called No Color Is My Kind. Please take a look at it. It does outline Eldrewey's life and the early desegregation of Houston. I also wanted to say how much I have learned about racism in Houston, in my relationship with Eldrewey. And one of the things that came out of this was a film called The Strange Demise of Jim Crow, which my co-producer Bill Howes is here. We were privileged to be able to make that film, which aired on 66 PBS stations, shown by on the State Department website. So I've had the good fortune of being able to be a bearer of this history and to offer it. And I have to say that I'm not sure that would have been possible today, right? I'm not sure as a white man I would have been given permission to write the story of a black man. And so I'm doubly honored. And so Eldrewey's an ancestor. He had an ancestor named Adolphus Stern, who was a German Jewish immigrant. So this comes to the business of relationships, right? But more importantly, Eldrewey's younger brother is here, and who has been a supporter of Eldrewey. I've known him for years. He's working hard on Eldrewey's legacy, and he has some things to say.
Thank you. I want to first just mention my daughter and my two guests, a lovely lady here, Originae Washington Booker, and she was instrumental in getting Eldrewey's name out at one time too. They met at Texas Southern University, and she did a paper on him at
Houston Community College.
Houston Community College, sorry about that. Anyway, he touched a lot of people, and that's one of the reasons I wanted her. She wanted to be here whenever anything was mentioned about Eldrewey and his legacy. And my daughter, who's probably the last of the Stearns, and wanted her to be here too. She's doing a great job, podcast on, I think she's on a off season right now with Vaughn Grelly and talk show, the Raw Talk Show, okay, yeah. Follow me on Facebook, Rudy Javon Stearns, and you keep up with that. But there's a few things I did want to mention about my brother from a personal point of view, and the things that he did and how he touched people. Because people know of him as the man who was just drunk and he lost it all at one time. But first I want to point out to Dr. Cole, Dr. Thomas R. Cole. Because of him, my mother and father lived to see their son's story get told. Now, people were taking his story for granted. Eldrewey had by that time, and people talk mental illness nowadays. When you are an attorney with an IQ of 140 or 50, whatever Eldrewey's IQ was, the Mensa Society, I'm kind of bouncing around, the Mensa Society was strictly, 50, 60 years ago, was strictly predominantly all-white organization, had invited Eldrewey to join the organization. He was that intelligent. Now, for that type of person to be thrown in gutters and drunk, and after when he actually started suffering. He started suffering shortly after he had successfully led the Texas Southern group on that mission to desegregate Houston, which was just a phenomenal thing. It affected the Astrodome. It was told that the Astrodome had to be open, integrated, or they were going to continue to blockade streets and parades and all that. So it was successfully opened, integrated. So that's the seventh wonder of the world, if those who remember back in the day.
We remember.
So that's a big thing, and a lot of people just don't know. So my purpose is to, one thing Eldrewey wanted is just to be remembered for what he did. I was at Texas University in 1967, and that was a thing called the TSU riots. It's been renamed the police riots of '67 because an officer died, and it found out that it was actually one of the officers shot their own officer. We went to jail. Now, I wasn't worried about coming back to Texas University, back to campus myself. And I was feeling plenty civilized. I wasn't worried. Now, when Eldrewey and that bunch went from Texas Southern University in 1960, March 4th, they didn't know if they were coming back. So big difference by the time I got there and when they were there. So when I was in jail, when they took us to jail, we were in jails in different cells, and I was with a singing group called the TSU Collegiate, so we were singing Old Man River or something like that, the Temptation style.
Come on, Temptations.
And handling it too, you know. So they were calling out the next morning the names of those who were being released, and my name starting as Stearns, is S of course. They called me relatively early, like when they were in the C's or D's or whatever, and I didn't know what was going on. Of course, I didn't argue. And so when I got to where, in whatever room was the next room and the next room, the people that were there didn't ask me any questions about did you pull the trigger, did you have a gun? It was Dan Rather, Ron Stone. Those people had me in the room, and they wanted to know, where's your brother? How is he doing? The most intelligent man I've ever met was Dan Rather's very words. He got that every way he went. Brilliant man, most intelligent man I've ever met. They didn't care anything about it. They sent me home. And my mother, when I hitchhiked from Texas to Galveston, my mother said, I'll be damned, here you go. We just got Eldrewey and all this stuff. I said, no, I was just with the crowd. We were just trying to close Texas Southern University's access through the campus called Wheeler Avenue, which ultimately was achieved. It's now called Tiger Walk.
Mm-hmm.
There were traffic, drug dealers, prostitutes. Everything was coming through there. So that did get done. But then once again, that's the people that you touched in that type of way. He was not here long enough to get, and mentally strong enough to say a Lawson, a Bill Lawson, or someone has been here, a thriving, and a yeoman's job he's done in the community. But he's not been here since he was sick, and often to thank Tom Cole found him, able to be on television. And so nobody knows about Eldrewey. That's, why I'm here, to continue his name and his legacy. If you're not an active community person, then you get forgotten and pretty much thrown by the wayside. But I want to say, as far as the book goes, yeah, the books I'm trying to get them in as many homes as possible so people can learn the truth. Who were the true Marines of that desegregation of Houston that actually went out, once again, with their backs turned and God knows what, that they were coming back to Texas Southern University, other campus during that era. Because with 3 days later, in March of 1960, can't think his name right now, but he was sliced up in KKKs across his Felton Turner. And he wasn't even part of the Texas Southern group, wasn't even at Texas University. So it was they weren't fortunate that it was done with, because Eldrewey and Curtis Graves, I think, left the first shop they went to, which was Old Wine Gardens, and made sure that the media and the police knew about it. And that may have saved them, we don't know. But once again, that's where I'm at. I've got some books with me, anybody wants them today, but I'm trying to get them to every home as possible, and so people will know, once again, who were the true Marines of this desegregation. And that's the book, No Color Is My Kind. And that lady there was in George Floyd March, and she had a big sign saying, No Color Is My Kind. I was so proud to see that. So, thank you.